Welcome to Get Savvy, the podcast for people who want to claim back their time through the power of delegation, productivity, and automation. Today, we're stripping it back to basics, and we wanted to address a few frequently asked questions about virtual assistants.
Yes, because we know how it works, and we kind of assume that everyone understands how a virtual assistant works. You know, what are the ins and outs of hiring someone, and how do you pay? How are hours tracked? Like, how does it all work? So we thought, we'll go back to basics and we'll cover them here.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to start off with just what is a virtual assistant, because it's become very clear to me, especially with AI popping off at the moment, that some people do still think a virtual assistant is an AI bot that pops up on a website and says, hello, do you have any questions?
Yeah.
Because I think originally that's kind of what a virtual assistant was. So to clear things up, a virtual assistant is not an AI bot. It is a very real person. We have a whole team of virtual assistants, and they all specialize in different areas. They might be admin assistants, they might be bookkeepers. A virtual assistant might be a designer, they might specialize in marketing. There are a bunch of different virtual assistants that you can get. And essentially, they are just virtual. So they don't work in your office with you. So they get the title virtual assistant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you could think of like a remote assistant is another term.
Yeah, but it's not AI.
It's not AI. No, they might use AI, but they're not AI.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start with what hours will your virtual assistant be available? Now, this varies across different virtual assistants depending on their own availability when they want to work. Some freelancers do part-time hours or school hours. Some don't do Fridays, or some do full weeks. Here at Strictly Savvy and most other agencies, you'll find that the hours are essentially 9 till 5, normal business hours, but closed on public holidays.
The next one is what happens if my virtual assistant is sick or on leave. And again, most agencies will have a similar structure to us here at Strictly Savvy, where we have a backup system. So every client that comes on board with us gets a backup virtual assistant assigned to them, as well as their head virtual assistant. So when their main virtual assistant, their head virtual assistant is on leave, then it defaults to their backup virtual assistant. So essentially tasks keep going as they normally would in the background, and then they would be the point of contact for you as a client if your main virtual assistant is on leave. We also have what we call handbooks at Strictly Savvy, where we document all of the processes and all of the tasks and how to do them, any contact details, etc., that we need to know for you and your business, so those tasks can just keep ticking along without them having to ask you a bunch of questions. Although this will be pretty similar for most agencies, it's always good to ask. And freelancers may have a different setup as well. They may have some kind of a backup, or they may have a different type of system. So always worth asking, especially if you're going with the freelancer.
Yeah. Next one is, can my virtual assistant make calls for me? Yes, absolutely. So outbound calls are no problem for all virtual assistants. They will do this. They'll either have a VoIP, like internet phone system, or maybe just use a mobile phone. Sometimes if there's a lot of outbound calling and you want it to come from a specific number, then it may be that there's a mobile phone that's purchased just for that virtual assistant to use for you. It depends kind of on what your requirements are, but yes, absolutely, they can make calls.
Next one is, can a virtual assistant buy things on my behalf? And again, yes, absolutely. For us at Strictly Savvy, we will get card details from the client and secure them in save them in a secure LastPass vault. So this access can be revoked at any time and is only given to, say, the head virtual assistant that would be purchasing something on behalf of the client. But for our clients, I know that we've purchased things from groceries to gifts for their clients and their family members even.
Gold bullion one time.
Oh, really?
A long time ago, a whole gold bullion. That was pretty cool.
I think we had to help with a horse float one time. Like the requests can be as ridiculous as you want, but yeah, absolutely.
Ridiculous, but necessary. Yeah. And we can also sign a non-disclosure agreement with you if you like as well, if that gives you some more comfort. Okay, what if I need a task completed that my VA can't do? Well, here at Strictly Savvy, we'll speak for what it's like with an agency. I think one of the benefits of having an agency doing your work is that you have one point of contact and they may not be able to do that task, but they have a whole team that's ready to back them up. They have all sorts of different specialty skills. And so they can delegate the task that you've given them that's not in their wheelhouse to someone where it is in their wheelhouse and have it completed by the best person in the team.
Right. Next, we're moving on to a bit of security. So we have answered a bunch of security based questions and the questions that you should ask your virtual assistant if you're starting with one around security. And that is episode number 8 of the Get Savvy podcast. So give that a listen as well. But this question is, how do you keep my information confidential and secure? Which is a big question and a big answer. So we use a bunch of different tools and systems so that we can ensure security across everything, basically. So one of the things that we like to have is centralized access over things like our LastPass Vault and just our laptops in general, so that if something happens, like a laptop is stolen or a team member leaves and refuses to give their laptop back, as an extreme example.
That hasn't happened, but it could. Yeah.
Exactly. Then we can shut down their access at any time.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that we use is LastPass for all of our passwords, which our office manager manages. She has the centralized access and can give people access and revoke access to any of those passwords at any time.
Yeah. I think another thing too is the access to files. So there's kind of a bunch of different ways that we can access your files. One is that you would share the access to us. Another is that you would give us a Microsoft or Google account that we manage and you are sharing access to that account and it's still within your domain. So you're still owning that and still have control over it. The files that we have internally for you that we create or whatever it is, then we can put them into your shared folder, or we have our Microsoft SharePoint with specific groups. And again, our office manager has that central control, so she can revoke access to any kind of groups or the main kind of top level folder at any time.
Another thing that we do is we do background checks or criminal conviction checks, MOJ checks here in New Zealand for all of our teams so that we can make sure that there are absolutely no issues.
Yep. And we mentioned before non-disclosure agreements. So if that is something that you would like us to sign, then we can absolutely do that.
Anything else that we want to mention here?
No, I think that's good.
Yeah, like I said, we've already covered a lot of this in episode 8, so do go and have a listen to that. The next one is, what systems does my VA use? And again, this is a big question. We obviously have our internal apps and tools that we use here at Strictly Savvy, but we also use a wide range of different systems and tools and apps for all of our different clients. So within Strictly Savvy, we use Office 365 for our emails, things like that. We still use Google G Suite as well for a lot of our clients, so proficient in both of those. We have a full list of the tools and apps that we use at Strictly Savvy on our website under our resources tab. So if you want to see a full list, please go and check that out. But are there any other key ones you want to mention? Obviously, we've got things like Xero.
Yeah, I feel like if you were using a kind of a system, a modern system, we will have someone with experience in that system. We have access to thousands, hundreds of different tools and different kind of access that we have across, we've been doing this for 13 years.
Yeah.
So we've seen all the systems and there are a lot of tools and apps out there. So if you want recommendations, we're also very good at recommending which ones are best too.
Yeah. CRMs, payroll, whatever it is.
Yep. Okay, let's chat about the kind of the service plans, the payments, like how does it work in terms of the hours? So the question that we often get is like, how do you pay for your hours? And the way that we have this set up, and most other virtual assistants will have a similar kind of structure, is that we have you on a monthly service plan. And that means that you have access to a dedicated virtual assistant plus a backup, and they are available for your service plan hours every single month. So these are invoiced in advance. So you'll get an invoice on the 1st of the month, and then they are due for payment on the 7th of that month. And then if you are on one of our flexi plans, it means that you will have access to some team members, and any work that comes up, they'll complete that for you. I feel like it's not as like quick turnaround as when you're on a service plan, but those casual hours, they build up over the month, whatever we've completed for you. We keep in contact with you about how we're going with hours, and then at the end of the month, you'll be billed for the exact hours that we've used.
So again, this may differ between agencies, but I think most of them will be relatively the same. Next one is what happens to my unused hours. So if you're on a plan of, let's say, 25 hours and you're worried that you're not going to use all of them. Firstly, I will say that our client success manager at Strictly Savvy does a very good job at figuring out how many hours are going to be suitable for you based on what you have spoken to her about in the initial meetings. So a lot of the time this won't actually even come up because we've got the right plan for you, and we are a bit flexible in that as well. We do have main plans, but we can adjust them if we need to. However, in the initial handover meeting that you would have with your virtual assistant, here at Strictly Savvy, we like to ask about wish list tasks or nice to have type tasks. So you'll have your main priorities that you really want to get started with when you start with your virtual assistant, but then some tasks essentially that we can be working through in the background. If we happen to have a month where it's a bit quieter and we're not going to use all of the hours, then we would use those tasks as a backup to use those unused hours for you. As at Strictly Savvy, we don't roll hours and accumulate hours month to month. So we like to have some backup tasks to make sure we've got stuff to do for you.
Yeah, and I think the difference between a reactive virtual assistant that you might come across and a proactive virtual assistant like we have here at Strictly Savvy is that we train our team members to be really proactive for you and look out for opportunities and suggest tasks that we can be doing and really get into your business, become part of your team so that they can see opportunities for other work that they can do. So yeah, this doesn't come up that often, because we have everyone really focused on like, okay, how can we be proactive for our clients and like see opportunities for work.
The next one is essentially the flip of that, and that is what happens if I need more hours. And again, this isn't a problem at all. So in the meeting with our client success manager, it's likely that you will end up on the perfect plan anyway, but there are sometimes months where extra stuff happens or a big project's going on or something like that, and you might want some extra hours to give to your virtual assistant. So if you're on a specific plan with us, let's say you're on a 10-hour plan, but there's a big project and you want your virtual assistant to be able to keep going, our virtual assistants, they will communicate with you essentially about how they're tracking through the month. And if they get the feeling that we're going to need more hours than your plan allows for that month, then they will communicate that with you and ask you what you would like to approve until. So you would give a cap. You might say you want to double it. You would say, yep, approved until 20 hours. And so your virtual assistant then knows that they have 10 more hours. And again, they'll keep in communication with you on how they're tracking with those extra hours. If it's a really big project that you want done, then they might come back to you if they need more. But communication is really key in that one.
And the extra hours will be billed at the end of the month. Okay, let's have a chat about what if it just isn't working out for you with your virtual assistant. And, there are various reasons about why it might not be working out. Maybe you have had a big drop in revenue and you can no longer afford to have a virtual assistant. All it takes is for you to send an email to our client success manager, which you will have met in the onboarding process. And we will, with a month's notice, cancel your plan. and then we'll finish up any work, hand over the handbook to you, and like terminate the service. Another thing that might happen sometimes, and we have had this happen, is that there's just a disconnect, or you're not gelling with your virtual assistant. There's just something that isn't quite working. The beauty, I think, again, another benefit of going with an agency is that there are multiple virtual assistants that can provide services to you. So if it's not working out with one, you just let your client success manager know. We'll have a chat internally and switch you over to a different virtual assistant after we've like kind of exhausted the like, why is it not working out? How can we make it better? Is there something that we can do differently with your current virtual assistant? But then if it's really not going to work out, then we switch you to someone else. And it's a real no fuss kind of thing. We understand that this can happen. It's happened multiple times before, and switching to someone else can just like be the thing that you need to just like click into place. Oh, okay, this is now working. We're in the flow. Personality styles are gelling, and then you continue on with your new virtual assistant.
So again, communication really is what's key there. We would again rather know, and most agencies, and well, I would hope that all other agencies and freelancers out there would just prefer to have that feedback as soon as you kind of feel like something's up as well, so that we can make changes and make things better for you, really. So we hope we've answered a lot of the FAQs for you around what a virtual assistant is and how they operate. If you do still have any more questions, then please reach out to us, book a call on our website over at strictlysavvy.co.nz. And don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the Get Savvy podcast.